Did you see a difference in how they were brought up, depending on the culture they were raised in, how they perceived themselves, self esteem? Where did you see guys kind of going wrong? Was there general rules that you noticed?
It's funny. I actually see a lot more similarities in the dating cultures between countries than dissimilarities. I feel like when it from my experience, if you go back down to the nuts and bolts of everything, like going back to a man's circumstance, right? No matter where you are in the world, a woman is going to look to a man's circumstance more than she looks to anything else, right? So if you really fine tune your lifestyle, if you really fine tune the way that you allow people to talk to you and the way that you talk to them and the direction that you're moving and the ambition that you're executing, that is going to be a very attractive quality across the board, no matter what country that you're in. Now, I will say this, in countries where men are a little bit more of that machismo type of attitude, right? You'll see them approach more women. Uh, Whereas I feel like in America, what's happening is, I was actually talking about this the other day. I almost feel like men today in America are what women were like, where women were at back in the 90s and early 2000s. So if you remember watching like movies from the 90s and early 2000s, it's always the women that are always begging for the relationship, right? They want the boyfriend, they want this.
Hmm.
And the man is always, dating lots of women, dating and he doesn't want to commit. He doesn't want to settle down. And now it's almost like it's reversed, where women have all of the options and men are the ones begging for relationships and wanting just to have a relationship, and they can't get any woman to commit. And, it's funny. It's like men are up in arms about this in America, which, it's very frustrating, very frustrating. But it's interesting that, it's exactly what women had to go through for so long. And it's things have just reversed now.
It's That's a great insight because it's something I've definitely noticed is when I'm chatting to people, it's I'm chatting to so many other people I'm dating. It's almost like you feel like men are pursuing now rather than there's tons of girls throwing themselves at us. Because girls have asked me that. I didn't know was it a shit test or was this just like a normal conversational thing, but they were surprised when I would say no. Like, and then they would think I was a player or I was trying to sucker them into something. It was really interesting how they kind of perceived the answers. Are you a fuck boy? Are you this? Are you that? And I definitely have noticed a change in dating culture. I mean, I used to have success when I was a bit younger before COVID. The £100 went on my body. How have you seen dating change over the last, say, 10 years or so? How is the kind of the culture, the attitudes? Is that the biggest change you've seen? That the
Yeah,
power
men are
dynamic?
just men are just afraid. Men are just afraid to afraid to put themselves out there, afraid to be rejected. And I think it's coming from both ends. I think that, well, social media and the media doesn't really do them any favors because it's almost like they just highlight this very, very small extremist sect of feminism, pointing to feminism, saying feminism's the reason, when in reality, I think it's so much more complex than that. There are so many other reasons why dating is harder nowadays. We can even just look at the way that we structure our lives. We're working longer hours, we're making less money, everything is much more expensive, we're tied to our work. The way that society is built is we're constantly inundated with all the things that we don't have.